Since that initial run, I've been wearing these shorts on most of my main runs, and I've now discovered an issue with them. And if you're planning on wearing these and not wearing any undershorts, then you need to be mindful of something. We have a seam going right down the middle section. Now, what that causes is your meat and two veg to go over to one side and not just sort of sit happily where you want them to be. You're in the market for some new running shorts. Maybe you want something that's not going to chafe, but also allows you to transport your sport nutrition. You've potentially been learning about those carbohydrates that you need to consume to keep your running going now that you're increasing your distance. But the question is, how do you transport them? You could get something like a running pack or just use the aid stations, but actually aid stations are going to be few and far in between. And actually the vast majority of your running is probably training for your event where there's going to be no aid stations. So you want to be self-supported. That leaves you with a running belt, putting things in your pockets, or maybe wearing a vest. But the brand 262 have tried to solve this problem by inventing some running shorts which have a big old pouch going around the entirety of the top. So this allows them to carry up to 10, maybe even 12 gels. My plan for this review is to explain exactly the benefit of these and then actually put it into the test. So if you're someone who likes to do a lot of research before buying something, then this review is for you, because I'm not just gonna explain the benefits. I'm actually gonna go out and do a run. And I'm not just talking about doing a little 5K and being like, yeah, that was great. I'm actually gonna do over a marathon along the coastal trail, really pour some sweat into them and really put them to the test and give you my thoughts on whether they actually do cause you to chafe or not, and whether they are worth buying. Hi, I'm James Hudson, a sport nutritionist by trade, but I do a fair amount of running too. And I was personally in the market for some new running shorts. And you know, when you're in the market for anything new, then on your Instagram feed, loads of brands kept popping up. And this brand in particular caught my eye. Don't know if you can see the branding there, 262, or for the marathon, obviously. So when this brand popped up, I thought there is something a little bit different, and there's something that may actually give me a lot of benefit. I love to carry loads of sport nutrition, potentially because of the job I'm in, and know that I'm going to be well fueled. So I jumped on their website and actually tried to dig a little bit deeper. Initially, I thought, wow, they are really expensive, because one pair of shorts for £50 seemed like an awful lot of money, especially when you can go on Sports Direct and you can find an Adidas pair of shorts that on the surface look really similar for say half the price, £25. I then noticed, and being a sucker for free shipping, I realized that they do bundled deals. So I managed to get two pairs for £70, which really significantly dropped the price and made it a lot more affordable. So I ended up getting that bundle deal for £70 so I could get the free shipping. This pair here is a 9-inch pair, and the pair that I'm wearing, these ones are 7-inch. So depending on how much leg you prefer to show, you've got an option there. Now, I'm gonna spin you around so that you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so I've just dropped you down so you can see the shorts. This is the 9-inch pair, but they have exactly the same belt element. What you'll see is this mesh part here, and this goes all the way around right to the back. So there's actually two sections, a small section here, and then this section, which is just one long strip. Well, firstly, they say that you can fit a phone in. I've got one of the XL iPhones. So there's the section at the back where there is the belt, but then there's also a zip pocket. I was nervous that my big old phone could fit in, but it does just about. Perfect fit, to be honest. Now, that's very easy to do when the shorts are off. However, you're probably gonna be wearing the shorts when you wanna put your phone in. A lot more difficult. I have practiced that. Not impossible, but it is doable. And to be honest, if I was planning on getting my phone out a lot on the run, I wouldn't actually recommend doing that, because that is going to be a real pain. But if you're planning on putting keys in or something like that, you know having a zip pocket is just fantastic. So good for keeping it minimal, but probably a little bit not particularly practical if you want to actually use it on the run. So on the website, it says you can fit 10 to 12 gels in your shorts. So let's give that a quick test. Got 12 gels here. So not particularly practical doing this with the shorts not on, but just as a proof of principle, can you fit that amount in? Starting to fill up a bit. If you want to get one in the back there as well. So yeah, I mean, you can easily get, that's 12 gels in there. And to be honest, I prefer to run with some whole food as well. So if I had some dried mango or a little squares bar, take one of those gels out. And it's so elasticated, easily fit in that and more. So the shorts have passed the first test. They do fit 10 to 12 gels easily, but that's not particularly practical. So I'm just gonna pop these on and then jump around a little bit and see if they fall out. Okay, so they do have a drawstring, so you can get that even tighter. Before I jump up and down, I just want to mention they've got a little undershorts sewn in. So I like this element. So I'm not wearing anything else under there, but these aren't super long. So you're not going to get tan lines from going out running, but they are enough so that your inner thighs don't chafe, which is an issue, especially when you start going longer distances. These are the 9s, so they're a little bit longer than the shorts I was wearing previously. As you can see, we've got all 12 gels in and that squares bar. Quite chunky going around there. It's like I'm wearing a little rubber ring, but I'm gonna roll this up so you can see as I go. I've tied the drawstring there. Okay, I'm in. It's past the jump test, nothing bouncing out. That's probably because they are quite loaded in there, so they're quite tight. If I was to take some of them out and have actually less in there, do they still want to fall out? Okay, so we've got a couple in the front. Is that gonna fall? No, because it's quite deep, because they've got these little ties sections, so it's not like things are just gonna randomly fall out. You could fit a lot more if you had them all like this, but then you probably are increasing the chances that they would fall out. But tucking them like that, that is pretty secure. So the shorts are definitely getting a big thumbs up from me so far, but I now need to put them to the test and actually take them out on the trail. Okay, so I've got back from my run, I've had my shower, and it's time for the final verdict. What did I make of these? How did they perform over a 3-hour run, hiking and running as best I could up and down the Cornish coast? Basically, I thought they were fantastic. The gels all stayed completely secure. They were super easy access, easier than unzipping or reaching right around the back to get something out of a hydration vest. Really easy to get to, easy to access. Because of the slightly higher waistband, I felt they sat really securely and actually super comfortable. So even on runs where I'm not planning on fueling, like just 5-10 Ks, these are going to be my go-to shorts. I think in terms of value for money, I think £50 for them is a little bit steep, but if you are able to get them on a sale or on the discount bundle offer, which I did, I think £35 is a fair price and actually is great value for money. So bear in mind, this is not a sponsored video. I'm not getting any kickback for making this recommendation, but having been in the market for some shorts, tried a few pairs out, and between you and me, I actually bought a cheap pair from China and they came and they're completely the wrong size. And I sort of put up with wearing some really large ones for a little bit too long. So getting a pair that actually fits, also really handy. So I hope you found this review useful. Now, the vast majority of my videos on my YouTube channel are all about sport nutrition, so feel free to check out those if you're looking to improve your performance or learn about how many gels to have on your next run. Since that initial run, I've been wearing these shorts on most of my main runs, and I've now discovered an issue with them. And I thought I would try and explain this. So really for the male runners, because it comes down to the meat and 2 veg department. And if you're planning on wearing these and not wearing any undershorts because they've got a lining in, then you need to be mindful of something. This is the lace tie at the front, but we have a seam going right down the middle section. Now, what that causes is your meat and 2 veg to go over to one side and not just sort of sit happily where you want them to be. So if we contrast that with, these are a pair of my normal faithful running shorts that I wore, and I normally would cut out the inner short from most of my shorts. So these, they have seams which don't go exactly down the middle, they have a bit of a gap and then they join here. So these ones on the 26-2 brand, it just has that line going all the way through, which means when you're running, it's just not quite as comfortable on your downstairs. Now I tried to overcome this by just wearing a pair of boxers underneath, but there's just a bit too much material going on down there, and over more than a half marathon, that wasn't particularly comfy. Personally as well, I've got powerful thighs, so they rub a little bit, so I need a longer undershort, and the undershort they just weren't long enough, so I ended up getting a bit of a rub between my thighs, which again wasn't particularly pleasant. I think 20 or 262, the brand, do have a longer pair of undershorts that also have this built-in knit. So what I should have done, I think, is ordered those. You enjoyed the knit element there, but I don't know, I've kind of got a thing against people just wearing undershorts and not having a pair of shorts over the top. Don't know where you sit on that one, but that is the one issue. It is an issue with this undershort material. So 262, please, if you're watching, have the seam not right in the middle, just so that it's a little bit more comfortable on the meat and 2 veg. Outside of that one problem, these shorts are just fantastic. I love the built-in value. I think the net and the amount of extra sport nutrition products you can carry is just phenomenal. So I would recommend these. However, what I'm going to do now is just cut out this bit and wear the undershorts that I'm comfortable with in underneath.